Hey, what's up, you guys? I just read a video, or watched a video and read the article regarding the growing violence in elementary schools. The growing violence in elementary schools. First of all, what is your opinion? Why do you think the violence is growing? Every time I see a child doing something violent, the first thing I see on social media is comments, well, it's the parents' fault. Parents should have raised them better. Sometimes the parents did the best they could do. Sometimes they didn't. But what else is causing the problem? Hawaii, I can't speak across the entire country, but I know that here in Hawaii, the school system is so afraid of the child getting their feelings hurt. They could murder someone here in Hawaii. They can physically assault the teachers. They can assault other individuals. There have been several social media postings with girl attacks, girl on girl attacks, and bullying that's just out of control. And a lot of that starts in the home. When you see your mom, your dad, you know, they're sitting around all day, they're watching football, they're watching MMA, getting high, they're drinking, and they set no standards for you. What do you expect? Parents have no idea the importance that academic and intramural activities play in the mental health and the mental growth of your children. You have no idea. Kids that are playing sports their entire life, kids that are playing in martial arts their entire life are so much more balanced than these kids that the parents say, I don't want to force them. I had one mother that her position, and she always wanted people to see this, she loved for people to see it, was, oh, hell no, not my child. Oh, hell no, not my child. And that is where the problem lies. Schools today are afraid to discipline kids. You know, now you have to have a psychologist talk to them. They need a counselor. If they try to kill a teacher, kids are stabbing other kids in elementary school with pencils. And you might not think that's a big idea or a bad deal. Not that dangerous, but it's incredibly dangerous. You could blind someone. You could cause them to be deaf. You could stab them in the neck. You could kill that person. And these kids, a lot of them, have no boundaries at home. None. So the article was, why are kids doing it more today than before? Well, I'll tell you why. Because before, kids would get their asses beat, period. Just get their asses whipped. My dad would lay it to me in public, and it didn't matter who was watching, and he didn't care if some social justice warrior was going to try and intervene. If I had an ass whooping coming, my dad was going to make sure I was going to get it. My mom, too, for that matter. She didn't discipline me so much as she did my older brother. And, man, there were some times where it was bad. But you know what? We remembered that in our adulthood. And schools, they can no longer discipline kids. Now you have to evacuate the classroom. For one child, you have to evacuate the classroom. Tell me what good that's going to do for anyone learning. The entire classroom sees little Johnny or little Keone going crazy, throwing tables over, attacking the teachers, physically assaulting someone, and the teacher has to stand there and take it. I remember my first year as a sixth grader in middle school, and I saw this kid, and he was a troublemaker kid. His name was Rick. I saw him throwing down with our social studies teacher. And man, the social studies teacher, he was throwing fists. He wasn't trying to restrain him. This kid, Rick, jumped up, threw a table at him, and it was on. I mean, it was game on. And we all remembered that. We were all like, oh shit, don't cross that teacher. And to this day, I remember it. So kids today, parents all have a reason. And they're like, my kid is so violent, and he has an uncontrollable rage. It's, I had a kid that I'll call Ikaika 20 years ago, and this kid's mom signed him up in our martial arts classes in Taekwondo, and she's like, I just don't know if this is going to help because he he has an uncontrollable rage and he just goes crazy. He wants to kill everyone. Well, little Ikaika had an episode one day in class, and I had this little girl who was training with me at the time, and her name was Dana. And I said, Dana, come here. Spar with Ikaika. And the more Ikaika tried to go crazy, the more he tried to scream, and the more Dana thumped him. And Dana was smaller than him, and she was leaner than him. And every time he did anything, Dana was there to answer, and she would thump this kid. And pretty soon the kid went over and sat down and cried. And I walked over to the mom and I went, well, so much for him being out of control. And the mom was mad at me for that. You know, she took him home and allowed this kid to continue these violent outbursts. But she was mad because a little girl, someone smaller, was able to control her violent son, who apparently gets no discipline whatsoever, and put him in his place. So schools, you know, we talk about taking Americans' guns away because not one more life during a school shooting. And I agree, any loss of life from the stupidity of a school shooting is tragic, but you don't punish the country because of an idiot or a homicidal lunatic. And the same thing applies here. You don't take the entire class out of the classroom because little Johnny is having a meltdown. You don't allow little Johnny or little Ikaika to destroy the classroom, destroy computers, destroy equipment. State laws allow that. They allow these kids to do it with no repercussions whatsoever. And then they go home, and the parents don't spank them, they don't punish them, they take them to their therapist so they can talk about it. So these kids are developing these violent tendencies, and by the time they're in high school, it's dangerous. I've seen a couple of these girl mob attacks where these girls will just jump on one girl and they're kicking her while she's down. And there was a recent video at Kailua High School where the girls were actually blocking the only teacher trying to help. They were actually blocking the teacher, and the girls, you'd hear the girls screaming, "Fucking kill her, Shia! Fucking lick her, Shia! Lick her, Shia! Lick that bitch!" And that's the behavior of your 14 and 15-year-old running around the school in their skinny jeans, acting like little hoochies, because they know that there is no repercussions coming whatsoever. None. The kids don't have to be afraid of anything. You know, my junior year in high school, and when I went to high school, and I wasn't the best kid. I was troublemaker. I was in trouble a lot. And one afternoon, the vice principal, Mr. Milne, decided that I needed to have a talk with him in his office. Now, I'm a junior in high school, so I'm 17 years old. I'm a fully grown man physically. And this guy, who was in his late 60s, smoked like a chimney, probably 140 pounds soaking wet, took me into his office, bent me over his desk, and lit me up with a paddle. And I can tell you that to this day, I will never forget that. Not only did it hurt so bad it took my breath away, but the humiliation and the embarrassment of having to walk out of his office trying to go and not cry and hold it in, of having something hurt so bad, and my ass was on fire for the next hour. So I go back and sit down in my humanities class, and I can barely sit because he actually used a real paddle, and man, he lit me up. And you know, honestly, when I saw him in the hall from then on, it wasn't, "I hate you, I'm gonna kill you." It was like, "Oh shit, good morning, Mr. Milne. I don't want that again." And problem was solved. But we don't have that anymore because somewhere along the line, the social justice warriors have all decided that's detrimental to little Ikaika. He can't express himself that way. He needs to be able to express himself when he stabs little Jennifer in the neck with a pencil. It's not him. It's just his emotions. And then you put these kids on psychotropics and they become active shooters. All because of a bunch of things. Sometimes it's lack of parenting, poor parenting. Here in Hawaii, it's the lick of mindset. Here in Hawaii, kids are taught from a very young age, fight. Bah, you leak that faka cause, you go to school cause, you leak that faka, you get lickings, you don't come home, Keone. You understand, boy? Boy, you understand? You come home and get lickings, I'm gonna lick you again, cause. And that's the mindset. And the Hawaiian people embrace that. They love it. They love it. That's the problem. That is the problem. Kids are taught to hurt each other here in Hawaii. So in Hawaii, we have two types of animals here. We have predators and we have victims. Because Hawaii being such a large democratic state, we are full of social justice warriors. And those parents are telling their kids, just let him hit you. Don't you strike back. Don't you defend yourself. We'll talk to the teacher later. And nothing happens. And that kid becomes a mark for the rest of their school history. Everybody will pick on them. So here in Hawaii, they got it figured out. They made a phone app. A phone app. So now if you see a fight happening, if you see 5 girls dogpiling one girl and kicking her in the head while she's down, if you see 5 girls doing that, don't get involved. When that girl makes eye contact with you at her last moment of desperation, before she goes unconscious, and you're the last face she sees, I want you to look down at your cell phone and I want you to push your app. Don't be a responsible man or woman. That's the next problem with society. We've been taught not to get involved. There's an app for that. We've been taught not to look. We've been programmed, just look away. If you look away, it's not really there. It's not really happening. Well, if you're the person that's getting mobbed or beaten or attacked, and you make eye contact with that person, and they connect with you, and then they look down at their phone and then pretend it never happened, you'll remember that forever. So, parents, understand that. Kids are getting violent because they're allowed to. Kids are violent now because there's way too many explanations. Anger management, social disorders, whatever, establishment disorder, ADD, ADHD, pick your poison, I don't know. But these kids are all being taught that there is no repercussions for their violent actions. And if you don't think so, take a look at Hawaii and the crime problem that we have, the violence. Men murder their wives and walk away. Nothing happens. Or they go to prison and it's a rite of passage. They're treated like kings. These punk kids are running around calling each other soldier cause. I won soldier cause. Soldier. I won soldier for a street cause. And their mindset is, if I can take it from you, I deserve it. It should be mine. And people can't fight back. And here in Hawaii, they're disarming the civil population. They're telling people in Hawaii, you do not have a right to defend yourself even in your own home. We're going to make you a felon if you own a firearm in which you can protect yourself. So, you take that with all the other social justice bullshit that's going on, and the fact that kids don't have to be afraid. There's your problem. Now, in martial arts, a lot of parents will say, oh, Bob, you are too strict on your children. Because if you're one of those kids, you're lazy, you got a bad attitude, you're bullying, it's 3 minutes. Standing in a corner, holding boards out to your side. Straight out, holding your arms out straight. And they're not very heavy boards, but after 3 minutes, let me tell you, you can feel it. And you're going to be doing squats, and you're going to be holding boards and doing push-ups. And unfortunately, it's not going to work long term because the kids go home and their parents say, well, I'm not going to make you do that. Or, Bob was wrong. He shouldn't have done that. He just doesn't understand you. And you go back to school the next day and you bully your teachers. You bully your classmates. So I don't know what to tell you, Hawaii. This no bullying bullshit or this growing level of violence in elementary schools, it's an easy fix. Parents just have to come to the realization that, yes, you are going to have to discipline your child. You're not going to say, well, I'm going to take them to a therapist. Moms, don't intervene when dad is going to take the belt off. Let dad take care of business and get it over with. Mom, don't stand there and go, that's too much. You know, there's a difference between a spanking and a murderous beatdown or assault. Yeah, if it's an assault, I get it. You know, somebody punching a kid, beating him with their fists. But you need a belt, little belt time or paddle time? Absolutely. Mom, if you got to go have a Coke and a smile and walk away, then do so. This is Bob Smith. Blood makes you related and loyalty makes you famous. Out.